The first episode tells us that Seiya and his sister are chosen ones, Ioria kidnaps her directly, and then we waste time with Seiya being attacked by a gang, which has to laugh off the drawing of her sister. Otherwise we wouldn't know these people beating him are bad, and being exposed as a mutant so he can be captured. Special appearance by Seika's voice. And taken to Mitsumasa Kido, who explains he and Grodd found Sagittarius, and while he believes Athena, Grodd thinks he has to kill her and fight the gods himself, because this version has a prophecy saying she'll lose. Okay, I knew they weren't going to say Kido trained the kids, of course, much less them being half-brothers, but damn, look at the damage that caused. Without a connection between the knights and him, suddenly we need an entire mediatic system and people dumb enough to not run away from an earthquake in Japan and post a video about Seiya being a freak that shows powers. Powers are like a weapon. Would you post a video showing your face and saying, "This guy knows me and can come kill me, that's why I want him to know who outed him to the world"? But where did the other 9 come from? If they came from Mitsumasa Kido telling them to train, why wouldn't this work now? They suggest he'd be hiding and trying to do it all clandestinely, but he still seems to be recruiting knights. He does it to Seiya, why not the others? Detail, he knows about Seika, but wouldn't be related to her kidnapping. In the original, Seiya says he had forced the two to live apart, but here, she was taken by Leo. In fact, why does Seika go to Camus Island? Which won't be confusing at all. If Ioria took her, is he just lying? Or somehow he got this information between learning Seiya was Pegasus and speaking to him? But let's be clear, there's another possibility. That the anime is insinuating Seika is Marine. This is an issue the 86 version didn't do that well. She shows up out of nowhere and with no connection between the two, unless you want to assume that silence could have been that she thought she was Seiya's sister and didn't want or couldn't tell him for some reason. I'm not sure if it's to separate the Bronze Knights from Mitsumasa Kido that they became the X-Force, but I can imagine the authors simply not understanding the idea of Cosmos and saying, if everybody has it, why doesn't anybody know about it? Which Dragon Ball already answered.
E como sempre praticou artes marciais, é normal que aprenda essas coisas com facilidade.
Vandergroud's armed militia invades, he asks about the golden cloth he wants, talking about technology, but Mitsumasa stays strong, while Saori and Seiya are saved by Tatsumi in a genuinely fun sequence. I still think his Kendo outfit is better, but I wouldn't expect model variants. But it's quick enough to work. Kudos! Please apply this to the rest of the episodes. In their escape by plane, we have a moment of Saori saying the drawing must be important to him, because we wouldn't know she's better than those guys from before. Of course, since Grodd has a whole army, they're reached, so they jump in a motorcycle. Okay? This is the moment that's stupid enough to be fun. Hey, if you're gonna be stupid, you better make it fun, and this is. Sure, they leave Seiya behind, and being a preteen, have I mentioned that he's still going to go through training, even already looking like his adult self? And being a preteen with no training who didn't even know what Cosmos was the day before, he can jump from an airship onto a tree.
I am the Jesus Christ of Christmas!
And seeing that the enemies are approaching, he passes by Tatsumi and Saori's bike, besides not feeling like there was enough time for them to not have passed by Seiya, and he decides to use his shiny hands and use the Pegasus Meteor Punch. Yep. It's not enough that he has a destiny, it's not enough that he's the chosen one beyond a shadow of a doubt. He uses the Pegasus Meteor without having been trained. This is the time to use some little energy that doesn't need to be impressive. He doesn't know what he's doing, he just needs to hit the target. In the very least, it could be a moment of self-realization and him accepting his own skill. Now, in this dumb series, Seiya starts as the chosen one and ends as the chosen one, achieving what he wants depending only on how convenient it is to the script. Tatsumi jumps onto a waterfall, Seiya sees a hidden path, and Grodd orders them followed. The second episode starts with Seiya getting to the island, being found and stopped to be taken in by Marin, despite that being against the rules. Immediately after, we see the fight against Cassius. That 6 years just make her CG model a little bigger, and yes, they weren't exactly well done in 86, but I wouldn't blame anyone for thinking Seiya was already 17 until half the second episode, when the arc actually starts. We have the same things we got in the first episode of the original, but they move it around for some reason. The two versions start with the Grandmaster talking and Cassius attacked immediately, which is called cheating. In the original, Cassius is more imposing, even if that doesn't really match the scale he would have. We have the year in the review, flashback to Seiya losing to Cassius while he was younger, attack, intimidation, kinda meteor, Cassius on his knees, Cassius makes a big attack against the floor, and it's stopped by Seiya, talking about him not having cosmos. Flashback to training with the Rock, where they're little related to the night sky, and Seiya focus, making the crater. Talk about nights and exploding one's cosmos, back to fight, Seiya traces the constellation with his hand, Cassius goes forth, taking the full impact of the Pegasus meteor punch. In the new version, Cassius is only double Seiya's size, and his proportions are kinda odd. I never felt his arms were short in the 86 show. This seems to be a logical design, but it looks like a rejected He-Man character, or Baltar from Galaxy Hero. Honestly, his color makes him a bit more interesting than Cassius. He even grabs him and hits him, then we go to the flashback, the Star Sky is used for an instance, but it's replaced by one that's more colorful, and less try to feel this abstract idea. And it seems to me, an energy you can't easily feel needs to be more abstract. This is very, you're strong, and that's it. I'd guess this is them trying to demonstrate visually that the universe is inside the characters, but it ends up more...
You're the special.
Because it all operates under bigger is better, so they change "this is nothing for me" for "I want bigger rocks."
E por que usar o punho para quebrar pedras? Seria muito melhor usar uma marreta.
And this lack of sense keeps going with Marine dropping a giant rock and telling Seiya to attack. They, in another flashback, showing basically the same scene, will say
"Dá pra melhorar."
And Seiya and Marine will insinuate that Cassius' problems is that he uses too little cosmos. Look, I like, for instance, that more visually clear Seiya's hand movements are tracing the Pegasus constellation behind him, though I still think it's a little loose. I like this particular transition, and I liked how the meteor's impact against Cassius looks. However, unfortunately, what we end up having is a fight where Seiya didn't look like he was ready and magically gets his power, breaks the floor uncontrolled instead of Cassius, so him earning the cloth looks more like a matter of luck. Shaina then goes after Seiya, and I think her attack got pretty weak visually. I guess I need to have more contrast between the background and her. Seiya has difficulty using his cosmos, not because he was smug and didn't think he needed to make an effort. Nope, he simply hasn't understood how to use his cosmos, the same cosmos he had understood better than Cassius. And then he hits her once. The fight is just too quick, and he still gets a Digivice from Digimon Adventure 2 to find the secret tournament. Mitsumasa Kido didn't make the tournament happen to gather the knights and attract the enemy's attention. It's a secret tournament. And somehow, they were able to get together without getting anyone's attention in an underground base. It's a bird! It's a plane! Nah, it's a commercial. And then, claw flights with no people, because implying some kind of teleport makes perfect sense. Athena says they'll start, and we have a new imbecility.
Cavaleiros não devem usar sua armadura e seu cosmo para vontades próprias.
We have living armor that chooses to continue with knights, and somehow this wouldn't have been approved by them and by Athena, while Athena is there. In the original, the Grandmaster says Seiya mustn't act in self-interest.
Sagrada armadura só deve ser usada a serviço da justiça e nunca por motivos pessoais.
But this is literally just after the end of a tournament to decide who'll be Pegasus. It seems pretty obvious he wasn't talking about not fighting when he feels he should. Here, the implication is that anything positive without previous order would be incorrect, and this is only forgivable because Athena isn't Arya, and that Roshi sent Shiryu to participate or he wouldn't have come. He's got a Digivice too, he's gonna use flying at Zulumon, but it doesn't matter. Seiya wins with a single attack, almost looking like he used a Gamma Can on him. They wanna wait for Hyuga, who isn't there yet, but this is pointless, and he gets there right after. At least his cloth looks good. Hydra gets even weirder claws than the original, and Cygnus defeats him super fast to then jump to kill Athena. And we immediately start the third episode with Athena calmly explaining she's not afraid, he should do what he wants, and the sanctuary is being controlled, which is something else that doesn't work. The sanctuary being controlled only works if she is an imposter, and in this world, since there's no Emperor Haki, she could just have a lot of cosmos even without being a goddess. Only here, she is Athena. No one speaks as if she isn't, but they want to kill her because of the prophecy. In what scenario would that make sense? We have a whole organization of people dedicated to protecting the goddess of wisdom, and they decide to be the Club of No Athena? Even if they were dedicated to justice and thought they could continue without her, the whole idea is that she'll lose a war against gods. If she's out, the war doesn't happen? In this version, Poseidon and Hades are not going to attack if she's not here? Of course they will. They don't want the series to be shorter. And then we have a bug camera, because I guess they couldn't make it carry explosives, which is Grodd's. We have Cygnus memory, and look how beautiful it gets when the idea is showing the story's beauty instead of make it more realistic. They update the ship, how deep it is clear. Her with the roses looks a bit plasticky. I think because the colors are a little too lively for something underwater in such a sterile environment. But the four who lost leave, which just increases the feeling that all of this has no weight. Seiya takes off his cloth and leaves it behind because he seems to be a complete idiot in this version. And then we have complete waste of time. Seiya leaves to the desert and then tries to convince security to get in for over 2 minutes.
Peraí, eu tô discutindo com uma tampa de bueiro robô?
Pointing your mistakes does not fix them. And you know what's worse? There's a funny moment here in this horrible comedic sketch. Yeah, in the land of Geki can't choke and loses in half a minute, they spend more than 2 making stupid jokes and only 1 lands. And damn, it could have worked so much better. Seiya tries to go in, shock. Security says, we'll protect the drain from anyone. There! You can do that in 30 seconds or less. This is something that would fade out a bit in Cause 86. Seiya was more playful and smarter in the beginning, but would end up having little comedic time even when outside battles. But that doesn't mean any joke will work. And then Shiryu literally tries just 3 times and says he can't do it. I do like he thanks his masters for the insistence. It establishes a master-student relationship quite well. I don't know if I like the attack with Cosmos that follows, because it looks like a midpoint between trying unsuccessfully and finally getting it, but at the same time, it looks like he hadn't thought about using his Cosmos before, though I thought the idea was to connect the Cosmos to the flow of water, so why would he only have light after understanding it? Shunrei got kinda weird too. She continues the conversation about inverting the waterfall with a citation about it and allowing for the master to show his subtle intelligence. But then, when he talks about the flow of the cosmos, she has to explain, so it's very clear for any fans of Dick's version, and I think it's worth taking a moment to look at the master too. His model is certainly more consistent than the drawing. He seems to have a complete body, instead of being the elder master that no one knew could get up. Maybe you think this goes against the revelation far into the future, but I actually like this. He doesn't seem powerful, but still looks capable of living. He's more Shifu, who doesn't overdo but could probably act if necessary, than, ooh, bouncy castle, ooh, but I can barely walk. On the other hand, I don't like that he's not purple anymore. They might not let Ursula be purple either. Hashtag let people be purple. Unfortunately, the Raising Dragon Lord got kinda slow and comparing, It doesn't look like Shiryu does a kata before attacking, but seems to be tracing his constellation. At the same time, we have the shield being strong for staying under the waterfall, which was always stupid. The fight being faster helped show Seiya's skill in understanding his weak point. I'd say it's a little loose because he doesn't defend with his shields like before, but it wasn't poorly done. It really gives the impression that this was a mistake on Shiryu's part, and that makes sense. I don't like Hyuga being the one who says how to resurrect Shiryu, but Shunrei couldn't be there because the tournament is secret. I'd have used that time to show someone using the defibrillator and saying, we need something stronger, something to counter the impact he took. And Seiya gets up, says to turn him around, and shoots him against the truck. Besides, is it just me, or is this much less impactful than their fight in the Colosseum? On top of that, Sigma saying there's no reason why he'd act like that seems like a bad idea for the character. Not that it couldn't have worked, but he was closed off, not emotionless. Suddenly, he might as well say,
Ah, yes, one of your Earth emotions.